I'm going to teach you skills to survive in the mists. We will cover 7 strategies today. Some simple, some more complex, some beginner, some advanced. 2 things to note before we get into it. Number 1, getting good at survival is for most of us part of the learning process to becoming better and better at PvP. However, at the end of the day, if your only focus is to survive, you're going to limit your opportunities to actually learn and become a great PvP player. So while the things I teach you here are important, if you want to enjoy Albion Online to its fullest as a PvP player, you will need to go much further beyond simply surviving and become aggressive, try out plays, and so on and so forth, but that's not today's topic. The second disclaimer is that all the things we're going to discuss today are not specific to any build. I'm not going to tell you what boots to wear to run away. Instead, whatever build you choose to go into the mist with, for whatever purpose you want to be there for, the things that we're going to talk about are going to work for you regardless. Strategy number 1 today is for PC players, and that is to get used to using recording mode. This is a setting that you can set a keybind for. If you go to settings, key bindings, and find recording mode, and if you click it, you will just remove the UI from your screen. You should set this to some key that you are comfortable pressing a lot, because ideally you will be toggling this on and off during your time in the mists. The reason why this is immensely helpful and has saved me, without exaggeration, hundreds of times, is that you instantly see when there's a nameplate on your screen. You cannot change how far you see enemy nameplates, but they are so much easier to spot if you don't have the minimap, skills, and other UI elements in its place. And on top of that, it is also much easier to then click that nameplate once you see it so that you can inspect it as fast as possible. Most high IP gankers in the mists will actually approach camps specifically from the south or even southeast to take advantage of the fact that their nameplate will be hidden in between your skill buttons or your map. So counter that strategy by keeping your UI off pretty much whenever you do not need it. And you do not need it unless you are in a fight or in a situation where you want to see the specific cooldowns of your spells, or you need to check your minimap. Strategy number 2 is for newer players out there, and it is to be aware of your location in the mist. If your priority is not dying, so if you're not aggressively looking for a fight, but you just want to farm or do something else and avoid being ganked, then you should do 2 things. Number 1, you should not go too far from an exit. And number 2, you should not go too close or inside a mist camp. Mist camps are there for PvP. Everybody looking for a fight will hover around mist camps hoping to gank someone lower or just get a good fight in general. And if you are just in the mist to farm or you're not looking for PvP at this moment, you will have much better results, and in fact you will also get more fame from roaming mobs around the mist. So avoid camps and be close to an exit. Survival strategy number 3 is to keep your potion slot open. The specific mechanics of using potions might get an update in the future. However, as it works right now is, even if you get into a fight, if you don't have any potions equipped, you can equip any potion you have in your inventory and use that one. This means that while for your build in general you might have brought healing potions or gig potions or something else, it is a good idea to have at least one invis potion in your inventory as a bit of an escape option. And if the situation occurs where you need to get away, then you can equip that invis potion and use it. Of course, don't forget that taking damage or using any spells while invis will break the potion. So what you usually want to do is get a little bit of space from your enemy, then click your boots, and then click your invis potion. So you are invisible and you are fast, and you can run and juke them out. This player makes the correct decision to try to run using his invis potion. He is 200 IP lower, and in an abbey an exit is always close. However, instead of first spacing with E and then using his Invis potion, he uses his Invis right next to me, gets revealed, and only then uses his E to try to get away. Strategy number 4 is to just simply be aware of your mount. If your priority is survival, you should always have your mount out and close to you, so that if you see a threat, you are able to mount up. If you rage click your mount, then usually you will be able to mount up even when there are mobs hitting you. If you're using Assassin Jacket, then you can always instantly de-aggro all the mobs by going Invis and then mount. If you're using Guardian Helmet, then you can click it and mount despite taking damage, because the damage will be absorbed by your shield. As a little side note here, remember what I said at the beginning of the video, becoming amazing at survival is not the same as becoming good at PvP, and in fact, I just want to point out that in my personal Albion experience, my PvP skills and the fun I was getting from it skyrocketed when I kind of forced myself for a while to play pretty much without mounting up at all in the Mists. Meaning I put myself in difficult situations, in a lot of bad fights, but it was a very nice learning experience. I just want to point out that playing next to your mount is good for survival, but it's not necessarily the optimal long-term strategy if you want to become a good, experienced PvP player. Strategy number 5 is to run around using cooldown reduction food. Now, whatever your build is that you came into Mists with, you probably have some food that goes well with it that you chose. My suggestion to you is to either eat an omelette or eel stew and run around the Mists with a cooldown reduction buff. Take the food that is good for your build and just have it equipped so that you're ready to eat it if you get into a fight. However, while you're doing other things in the Mists, enjoy the cooldown reduction, which will help you sometimes to get away from a dangerous situation, or if you come across a good ratting opportunity, might help you catch up to someone. Note that if your specific build really struggles with PvE in the Mists, then maybe you need to disregard this last tip. For some builds, you need to have the cabbage soup buff or lifesteal buff in order to be able to kill mobs at all. Strategy number 6 is to inspect everybody you see on your screen. Even if you don't know what to do with all that information, just get into a habit of inspecting everybody. As you get a bit more experience, you should start asking your brain 2 questions when inspecting people in the Mist. Number 1 is, can I fight this at all? Of course, the less experience you have, the more off your result will be. You will be wildly wrong, you will run away from good fights and run into bad fights occasionally, and that's normal. But get into a habit of trying to evaluate every person in the Mist to understand if you can fight this. And then the second general question to ask your brain is to evaluate the mobility of this person. And the idea there is to try to be as accurate as possible in understanding whether they can catch you or you can catch them, or who will be able to set the spacing of the fight and reset the fight if they want. For example, here the one-handed dagger player is wearing the same tier as me and has a stronger build. He has a very good chance of winning this fight. And even if he doesn't want to fight, he has a Fiend Cowl and I'm on Wanderlust, so he pretty much needs to purge my boots once and he will be free to go. Instead, he picks the worst possible option, which is to just panic run away, and ends up having to fight me anyway on his last 40% or so HP. This player was not a complete beginner. What is likely to have happened is that after I quite aggressively dismounted close to him, he assumed, without really inspecting me, that all he can do is just try to run. The final strategy for today is for you to develop your fight to run plan. Let me explain. When you get attacked by a higher IP player in the Mists, you have 3 options. Number 1, to just run. Number 2, to fight in hopes of disengaging later. And number 3, to just fight and hope for a miracle. I will be making a separate video on how to choose between these 3 responses and how to execute them the best. By the way, subscribe to make sure you see that video as well. But for today, my final strategy for you is to focus on this middle option and develop your own strategy for this. And this middle option means You are not afraid to damage your enemy, so you're not just running for the exit, but you are not hoping to make this into a real fight. You just want to fight them a little bit and then get out. The idea here is to bait out some of your opponent's spells or mobility options in the fight so that you will be able to disengage easily. For example, you get ganked by someone with a purge, you turn on your defensives like the Infernal Shield and turn to fight them. Maybe they will purge your defensive because they think this is becoming a fight, and now you are free to use your mobility and run away because they no longer have a purge. If you're getting ganked by a weapon that sometimes likes to space their enemy and you turn to them to fight, it's quite likely that they will create that space, after which you can just turn around and run away much easier than it would be if you just clicked your boots the moment you got dismounted. Each situation and each build will be unique, so my tip for you is to develop this fight to run strategy for your specific build so that you are prepared when you get ganked to use the specific tools that your build has to kind of fight while looking for an opportunity to disengage. So there we go. Now you have 7 strategies or things to implement if you want to become a very good survivor in the MISTS in Albion Online. Number 1, use recording mode. Number 2, be mindful of your location. Do not go far from the exit and do not go too close to the MIST camp. Number 3, keep your potion slot open and an invis potion ready in case you need it. Number 4, be aware of your mount and keep it close to you if your priority is survival. Number 5, if your build allows for it, run around on cooldown reduction food such as an omelette and then swap to real food once you need it for a fight. Number 6, get yourself into a habit of inspecting everybody on your screen and ask yourself, can you fight this person? And secondly, what is their mobility like comparing to mine? And number 7, develop and prepare a fight to run strategy for your build. Don't forget to enjoy your life, enjoy your time in Albion, and subscribe to become even better at having fun.